What's going on, everybody? Got Matt from Campus Automotive over here today. We were in the middle of a really interesting conversation here. We're just going to let's just forget the cameras are even on here. You know, we were talking about the Blacksburg meeting coming up about the gun, banning guns in public spaces that people need to know about for sure. So let's just continue that conversation.
Yeah,
That's overstepping of
I think it
bounds,
may
don't you
be.
think?
I think it may be, and I think that it's probably a decision made based more on, like you said earlier, feelings or a particular taking a side instead of really weighing out the facts of what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of good people out here who choose to carry firearms, and if you change an ordinance or change a law, it doesn't keep the bad guys from carrying firearms.
Yeah.
And so I think that rationally, I think you're not, because you don't have a problem. Like, you're making up a problem that's not really there to solve it.
In the name of security, all behind the mask of COVID. You know, because too many people right now do not want to get out into the community, and these are community decisions that are being made behind, the proverbial mask.
Yes.
And I have a big moral conflict when they get to use this moment to make key legislation and laws for us when we do not want to be a part of the process.
Right.
Just because we elected them doesn't mean that they get full reign over the decisions that we make.
Right.
I want this community to know the leaders. Too many in this community, if you went and told them, you asked them who Joanna Hicks was, or you asked them who the mayor of Blacksburg is, they couldn't name her.
Correct.
They could not name this lady. I'm having trouble myself. Even I know her.
Hager Smith.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So these people, we need to really be paying attention. We need to be paying attention to the situations, and we need action. But they need to slow down these things that they're trying to do when nobody wants to be in the room complaining.
Right.
The
question is, why are we talking about this?
Yeah.
We're, of all the things that we got going on, why are we talking about this right now? And I think you're right. They're trying to pork belly it in with the crisis that we already have.
They know the opposition in front of them is not going to be as strong because they got this blanket this blanket of COVID behind them,
right,
or on top of them.
And they do have one legitimate factual point that they have is, firearms aren't allowed in federal buildings.
That's
post
fine.
Office.
They're a hard target anyway. Typically, they got armed guards in the building.
That's right. So there's a on both sides, but I think that's probably their biggest factual argument, because at the end of the day, why are we even talking about this? We got a lot of stuff going on. Like, why are we talking about this? Why is this all of a sudden we got to take care of this? And I think it's just coming in on, number one, it's coming in off the back of a very controversial election cycle. Number two, I think that the old saying goes, never let a crisis go
to waste.
Yeah. That's the Clintons' big thing.
Yeah.
And I think they're using that to push that through, push an agenda through, an agenda of change through, when we don't even have, really have a problem. I mean, they're creating a problem that wasn't really there.
Yeah.
To solve it in the name
who's
of,
coming up? Like, who in this committee is coming up, or this council is like, now's a good time. Like, these are the things we should be doing, and then they bring this up because they know that the opposition is going to be as little as possible because no one wants to get into the room. Like why are they thinking this in this community? This is a majority of people are pro 2A, I think, in this area.
In this area. But, if you look in the zip code or in the Blacksburg proper, which are the people who can vote and attend and vote and comment during town council meetings, I think the majority of those are probably on the other side of the fence.
Yeah.
So the lack of conservative opposition.
Man, and I would be a conservative opponent to those measures, and I'm trying to find my way into this community. I live in Christiansburg currently.
Right, yeah, me too.
And I love Blacksburg so much. You know, I appreciate this community and what it is to the New River Valley so much. And I'm trying to enter this community at some point, but they're making it so hard. They're making things, they're making the tax rates unmanageable. They're just making things very hard for somebody that aspires to be a part of this community to enter the community.
Yeah, and I think that, well, first of all, I grew up here in Blacksburg, and so I went to Blacksburg High School and went to Virginia Tech, so I'm here.
Yeah.
And my family's been in business here in January, it'll be 50 years.
Wow.
So that's a long time to be in business somewhere.
Yeah.
But you know what's weird is I still feel like a little bit of an outsider in a way. Like even if you break it down to the way that we talk, you and I have very similar dialect, Appalachian dialect.
Yeah.
And you know, you don't hear that from a lot of people or residents and stuff. And I think that it's not the same as what I grew up in. And I think, you know, there's this weird little movement that's saying, you know, we want to keep Blacksburg, but I don't know if it's that or if you want to make Blacksburg what you want to make Blacksburg.
Yeah.
And it's kind of different. It's way different than when I grew up. Now, I will say that I think that obviously in my personal belief system, I've kept, you know, purposely quiet on social media because I have a business to run there.
Sure.
And so I'm trying to serve everybody.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of quiet about where I am on everything.
Sure.
Because these people, my customers, even through the pandemic when the students went home, like they're still coming in. Like I was still working on cars.
Yeah.
And I feel very fortunate and blessed that I have that.
Yeah.
And I know that those people might not see things along the same lines as I do, but man, I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So I have to be careful what I say because I don't want
to. Me and you are in the same boat in a lot of ways. You know, we're in sales. We have to have people accept us. You know, I've gotten a little bit more vocal probably than you just because I've bottled it up and suppressed it for so long, and I just felt like there needed to be someone else on the other side. You know, I've always in my lifetime I've always kind of been the outsider or taken the opposition opinion just to have the argument.
Yeah.
Even though I might actually agree with you on the other side, if it's, you know, I love the quote that if everyone's thinking the same, then no one's thinking.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
I agree with that.
You can't all be thinking the same because no progress happens.
Right.
So when you talk progressing the conversation, nothing progresses until there's opposition. Nothing really.
Yeah, because you have to be challenged on whatever your belief.
You do.
And I think, you know, like for me, I think that I'll listen. Like I'm not so set in my way, like that I'm not going to listen to what someone's saying because I want to make sure that I gather all the facts on both sides. And then based on what I know in my, you know, sphere of like understanding, I make my own common sense judgment about this or that.
Yeah.
So I'll listen. I'm not totally against that. So I think that there's some middle ground. I think that there are not enough conservative voices. You know, I always say, you know, when you drive on 460 Business, when you pass Corning, the world's a different place. And it really is.
Yeah.
And so I think on our side over here, I spent the majority of my life on this side of Corning, even though I live on the other side of Corning.
Right.
So I think you know, having a few conservative voices over here, you know, speaking up, I think is good. Yeah, and we have to be respectful because we know we're outnumbered, and
we do.
We got to respect people, and you know,
I think there's
where they're coming from.
You know, you've heard the word silent majority. I don't know if it's a majority, but they sure are silent, and that's the only reason why I just couldn't not be on the opposition because the people that are saying what the mainstream is saying, they're so loud that a lot of people can buy in. So there needs to be somebody there challenging that, especially when all the power is that. In Blacksburg, it seems like they unanimously decide on things with no opposition.
Well, in this case, that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Because they're using it, like you said, piggybacking it in with the crisis. I think if you could sit down and and have a conversation with them about the facts.
Yeah.
If you had somebody who had facts and could sit down and say, okay, let's look at this thing. Let's look at this thing through the lens of some factual information and some numbers and statistics, and what we're trying to accomplish as a community. Is what you're doing going to, bring us further as a community? How's this going to help our community? And, or are you doing it because you're just trying to take a stance?
You're trying to have some moral high ground and feel good.
Right. Virtue signaling is what they call it. So, I don't know. I can sort of see, because at the end of the day, like the way a lot of people think differently than we think.
Yeah.
Like they see the world through a different lens. So, maybe if they could explain it rationally why they're seeing it, like why is right now the time to be even talking about this when we're in the middle of a pandemic, like numbers are going up like crazy. What if numbers go crazy and they say, okay, let's cancel another semester of school?
Yeah.
Like what's the impact on, businesses, bars and restaurants, me, you? Yeah. Like what's the impact of that economically?
When the bar crowd's down, your towing business has got to be way down, right?
Yeah. When they're not partying, the towing business is down, right? So, so that towing business really is down a lot this year because, we lost a whole semester, basically half a semester of school in last spring when everybody went home. And then when they came back, they weren't moving around as much as they usually do.
Right.
But probably private property towing at the end of the day is probably going to go away eventually. If you've noticed the big project there at Terraceview that Findorf is doing, all parking garages require passes to get in. I think that's the new way. I think that's where we're going with apartments.
Yeah.
So, you won't need a tow truck unless something just gets abandoned in there.
Right.
So I think that's kind of going.
Do you have the market of like when people break down, like if a tractor trailer breaks down 460, are you running after those?
No tractor trailers. But I do AAA. I do work for AAA. So if you have a AAA card and you break down, I can come get you.
Gotcha.
If you get an accident, like we can come and get you. If you do if you have a flat tire or need like fuel or something, we can do that too. So we do a lot of service-based towing too, in addition to that private property towing.
Yeah.
Too. That's it. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I don't know if I know you've been paying attention to big money coming into Blacksburg.
Yep.
Tearing down entire complexes.
Yep.
And building new, that's a $200 million project over there.
Right.
Like, how do you make those numbers work?
Right.
Like, how do you cash flow that? And that means big money's coming in. So how's that going to impact the market as a whole?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, all of those are going to be just rentals. Some entity's going to hold those, and those are not going to be on the resale market. So what that is going to do is level off the rental, hopefully. Like we need some suppression of rent rates.
Oh yeah.
And I can't believe I'm saying that because I'm a landlord. Like I want those things to put up.
Right.
But when it becomes unaffordable to live, it's a bad idea.
I think what was the retreat I read was $900 a bedroom.
Yeah.
For 4 bedrooms. That's $3,600 a year. What kind? Like that's a $800,000, $900,000 house payment.
Yeah.
Like think about that, a 4-bedroom apartment unit.
Yeah.
And I think that it's higher rents like that is it gets to the point where it's almost detrimental to a community.
Oh yeah.
If you think about it,
Yeah.
because it's just too much. It's too much. Like people can't live.
Yeah.
And I think it's fine if you're getting money from Northern Virginia.
And people don't realize that rent rates actually inflate market values across the board. So if you can rent a place for $1,000, what can you buy for $1,000?
Right.
That actually makes an impact.
It makes an impact.
So like that's we definitely need more rentals, but we need some middle of the road rentals. We need
Right.
some $600.
Right.
We need something to be built that's $600 a room.
I don't think you can build it and do it. I don't think it'll cash flow.
Yeah.
I think some of the older properties, you could probably make that work.
Right.
Jefferson Street apartments, some of those older units, you could probably make that work, but you're not going to make that. Like even on Northview Drive, right above my shop right there, those old apartments that used to be Section 8, $900
right.
for a 1-bedroom, and it didn't even have AC.
Right.
Like, so I'm like, man, I can't even believe that. Even Shawnee, when I was growing up, Shawnee was Section 8.
Right.
And now it's like $1,400 for a 2-bedroom.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm like, I don't even know how. Like, at some point, like, our wages, in a normal community, your wages need to keep pace with the price of housing and the rent rates, right?
No doubt.
But what's happened over the last several years, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but that's far outpaced
wage increases. For sure.
And then how do people fit?
They moved to Giles.
And
they moved to Pulaski, and the ones that are earning a little bit more, they can live in Christiansburg.
Right. Right.
So,
and that's where I'm at.
They're totally priced out of Blacksburg.
Totally priced out of Blacksburg.
Yeah.
And I think that, how do you even, like, it has to either be a bubble or it's got to level off.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
And obviously the big developers don't see it happening because now all of a sudden we got big money coming in.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like, they're moving the market through the Virginia Tech rental market, and then the upper class of the executive, the executives of the companies can afford to be here, and they get the benefit of being here because they're willing to pay the premiums that come with it. So there's no real middle class in Blacksburg.
No.
It's either students at the bottom getting funded from the parents in other high-end communities, or there's just the absolute elite people financially that are in Blacksburg.
Yeah, and you got to look at. So for me, I saw it firsthand in March when they canceled school. The students left, and most of your faculty with the higher incomes, they kind of sheltered in place, like they stopped moving around. So, so you take that out of the picture, you're also pulling all the money out of Blacksburg.
Yeah.
And so what's left, if you look at median household income, what's left after you take that group out and take the students out, like it's not that great.
Yeah.
Like it's basically on par with, Withville and that kind of thing. And so we had to change our pricing model a little bit to accommodate that, because we're like, these students are like, we got to give these local people a break because they don't have the money. If you took the bottom, I would say the majority, I would say probably 50 to 65% of all Virginia Tech faculty and staff, 50 to 65% make less than probably $45,000.
Right.
My mom worked there for 20 years and made $28,000.
My mom currently works for the Virginia Tech Foundation. She doesn't make more than 50.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and she's a high level. She's like right under the CEO guy.
And man, $50,000 now is nothing.
Yeah.
Like you can't live off $50,000.
Yeah.
Like
you gotta have two incomes in that house.
Two incomes in the house.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's crazy. I don't know, but the more development gets done and the more comes in. And the other thing is that we don't have here, and you can probably attest to this. If you can't. What's odd is you can't build a house now. You can buy more house than you can build right now, because to build a house is so expensive.
Oh, it is.
Like way over $200 a square foot to build a house. Somewhere that flip-flopped, because it used to be you built a house, you got instant equity. That's why you got what you wanted, and that's why you built the house.
Yep.
Well, now you're upside down. And now you got people like Stateston, and you got houses in Christiansburg now, $570,000, $589,000 on a 0.18 acre, and the porches are touching.
Yeah.
And so
Agreed.
Well, how does that and then how do they even get them to appraise and comp?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not in the real estate business,
Yeah.
but I'm like, hey, he's got a way to make it work.
Yeah.
But you know,
It's a great thing that those are actually long-term type deals, because if they needed to sell within 24 months, it'd be like a used car.
They get
It'd be
killed.
Like, it would get killed.
That's right.
You know, because of the cost of selling the place.
Absolutely.
You know, when they call me up and they gotta chop off 6% right away, then they're upside down because they've not gained any equity and they've not paid it down enough to be on top of it.
And it used to be when you build a house, you automatically had a little equity, at least a little bit in there.
Yeah.
And I think that's gone away too. So what's going to be interesting,
it's actually cheaper to do the resale. You get more house right now than you would
if
on
you
a
had
brand
them do
new.
it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you had your house for sale, you'd be able to sell it. You'd get out of there, but they would get more house than they could if they went to those builders.
That's correct. Yeah. And they don't even paint the garages. That's the craziest part.
Yeah.
It could be $600,000 and the garage ain't painted. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But I think that. In fact, there are a couple cases, like you said, that were resales that were sold for less than what they paid for them in Harris Landing and at the one behind the new high school.
Right.
That neighborhood. The name is slipping my mind, but houses that people had bought, then all of a sudden they got to move, and you're getting more than what they did, obviously.
For sure.
But it's going to be interesting to see, Shaw development on Prices Fork Road. Big development going in there. Yeah. Right across from another state's in development. It's going to be interesting to see how.
Is that the Hogue Farm?
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how.
Are they ready to get on moving dirt over there?
Oh, they're moving dirt.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. They're doing their entrance now. On the other side of the road, Stateson's already putting their entrance in. They poured curb and gutter on the other side. It's like they're in an arms race.
Right.
But it's going to be interesting how he sets the price, because Shaw is owned by David Hagan and Larry Sheeler and their car dealers. Right. So if they work this like a car deal, they'll come in and set the market. Right. And try to create the market.
I'm interested. I am definitely, I represent the Hogues, on a couple other deals, and I love those guys, and I was very disappointed to not be able to get that into the. See, we were trying to negotiate a deal with Tyrus on that, and Sheelers beat him to it. Yeah. So I'm devastated that I didn't get that deal worked out.
Oh, man, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So we were trying to influence them to go with our deal, but it was going to take a little longer. Right. And Sheeler came in with cash. They've got so much leverage. They got so much leverage.
He got money.
Yeah. So he's got two hangars. He's got a hangar in Blacksburg and a hangar in Dublin. Yeah. So when you have money like that, you can be like, give it to me.
But I always say car dealers have airplanes and pet dragons in the basement.
I mean, I hope to be able to amass that amount of wealth at some point. I mean, I'd love to take over the real estate world somehow, and they've got 4 or 5 different companies. Yes. So they know that they had to get beyond the car sales.
They had to do that. Yep.
Yeah. So transcending our business, you finding something else to invest in, or me finding something else to invest in. We know at some point we've got to be like the CEO of our company and putting in directors or managers down the line to run things. Do you have any ambition like that?
You know what? I think I'm going through a little bit now because I have a Campus Automotive, and that's got really 3 pieces. Yeah. Got a used car piece, auto repair piece, got a towing piece.
Gotcha.
Then the Mako is body shop. And so when you go from 3 pieces and add that other big piece, right, you're adding another layer of people that you have to count on. Yeah.
So this is the part of your scale. This is the scaling part of your business.
I think that probably I'm not the type of guy, and I've always been like this. I want to make sure that I get everything I get out of that place. I don't want to have 4 or 5 different Makos and Campus Automotives. What I want to do is I want to be a new car dealer. So I want to go down that path and have a new car store, and go that route, and not so much another repair garage and another.
Gotcha.
And so
your next level is
that's my next level.
Gotcha.
So my scale is not going to be. I want to have like a vertically integrated scale instead of just a horizontal wide scale.
Gotcha.
Because I can't see the money. I can't see the ROI at this point. It's so expensive to do business. Not only that, but we're like 5 years away from electric cars being like it. Once people figure out that that's the deal,
Yeah.
like it's going to go fast.
Right.
So the problem with electric cars is you don't have to fix them. Like you got to put tires on them, wiper blades. Even with the regen on the brakes, you rarely have to put brake pads on them.
Right.
So you don't even have to. So what does that mean for me, for a guy who works on cars? I think we probably got another 15 good years of auto repair business, and it's nothing going to be there.
Here's what I think about the situation is that the normal, the luxury market is then going to become the combustible engine. It's going to
be a luxury.
So when we park them in the garage and we want to get them out, we're going to still need guys like you that know and that can actually charge accordingly to the business.
Yes.
You're going to have to charge a little bit more, but it's going to be a luxury repair.
Right. More of a niche type of deal.
Yeah.
And I think what's going to happen is, obviously by 2025, Cadillac is going to be all electric by 2025.
Wow.
General Motors is committed to 40 EVs. Ford, like they're all going to EVs. So the whole model is changing. And I think that what will happen is, particularly if we have a two-term Democrat in office, when they start to figure out that they can influence, because one of the things that Democrats always do, for better or for worse, is they like to tax people into behavior changes.
Yeah.
And I think what will happen is that internal combustion engine will be something that they'll tax in a way, whether it's through gas tax, federal gas tax, whether it's through luxury tax. Somehow they're going to figure out a way to tax it to the point where only a certain group can have it as a luxury,
right,
and change everybody else's behavior into another type of.
And then when Tesla goes to scale, and then all these other companies that are going to be competing with Tesla go to scale, and it's affordable, then it's game changer.
Yeah, game changer. And you're talking about the cost. See, right now you get a $7,500 rebate on everything but Tesla, because Tesla traded all their credits. They had that's how they even financed the thing to even get it going, because they really never really made real money.
Yeah.
But they sold their tax credits, default swaps on these, not default swaps, but they basically traded these tax credits for money from other car companies. They bought them.
Right.
So if you buy a Tesla, you don't get the $7,500 federal tax.
Interesting.
So that's one thing that you got to look at. But I think that, when they get to be $30,000 and you can get a really nice car. Because really, at the end of the day, I've drove a couple EVs, Tesla Model 3, for instance. Like if you get in it and you drive it from Christiansburg to Blacksburg to my office, you're like, damn, this is a no-brainer. Like just to do this, like this is pretty slick.
Yeah.
Like it's a nice car. It's fast. They're so fast if you get the right ones. And they have all the tech that you want. They'll be able to drive themselves soon.
Next year, Elon says he's got fully autonomous, ready to roll out, stopping at stoplights, everything.
Well, he's a little bit full of it too.
Yeah,
so
he is.
I think did you see the Cybertruck launch?
I did.
All right, so my thought on this is just my opinion. I think he wasn't ready, and he just threw that out there to see if it would stick. Because the other, like Nikola and Rivian, Ford even has an all-electric F-150 coming.
Right.
The Hummer EV was on the pipeline.
Yeah.
I think they weren't ready.
Right.
And he was getting out developed.
And he wanted to be first.
He wanted to be first.
Yeah.
So he put out that. So what you're seeing under is probably right, but the body up, he just threw it out there to see if it would stick. Because he'll say all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I read yesterday where he overtook Jeff Bezos in net worth.
What?
Yesterday. I think I read that.
Yeah, that might be
for something crazy.
Yeah.
He ain't ever really. That's crazy because they ain't even really made any money.
Yeah.
And they just got unlimited amounts of money. Like I go to the National Bank and try to borrow $40,000, and I gotta give up a kidney, like blood samples and kidney. And he just comes up. He fly out. He can borrow all kind of money. Fly to outer space.
Isn't that interesting? As far as
they're like, hey, I want to go to outer space. They're like, here's a blank checkbook, and I'm like, I need $40,000. They're like, no, it'll be at 19%.
Right,
please.
And you actually show profit in your business. Yeah.
So like it's crazy
That
how
is
the world
wild.
works. What's interesting around here is, to me, and one of the reasons I started really listening to your podcast, obviously I've been interested in real estate. I studied real estate when I was at Virginia Tech. I got a minor in real estate and building construction.
Yeah.
And so I've always paid attention to it. And when I had my real estate appraisal class, I remember we appraised a house on Draper Road, and we appraised it for $328. And I was like, I can't believe this junky old house. We had just appraised this thing for $328,000. Because in 2002, $328,000 was a house in Wyatt Farms.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people don't realize. The first $300,000 house I saw in 2001, when they first was in Wyatt Farms, they first started building it.
Right.
And so now the same house is what, 650, 625,
Yeah.
650.
Yeah. That's about the average out there right now.
So, look how much that's. I mean, it's crazy how much it's appreciation that we've seen over the last 20 years without seeing a wage increase, go up. So, I don't know what your feeling is on it, but like, at some point, something's got to.
I mean, look, I've said this before in the podcast, is every peak has to have a valley, and all valleys end up having a peak. So there's got to be something. There's going to be a moment that values aren't going to rapidly rise like they are right now, and we're going to enter that term recession. But people need to understand what recession really is. It's just 2 quarters consecutively of no growth. It doesn't mean that the world is collapsing.
That's right. Contrary to what you watch on TV, like It's not global. It's kind of crazy.
Now, when the food supply is affected, and we can't get the things that we need, then it's time.
I think there was an article in Forbes yesterday. I read it, or maybe sometime in the last week or so. It was talking about how many countries the pandemic was going to cause. How many countries to have a famine.
Yeah.
Like there was a large number of countries that were going to go into a deep famine because of food supply.
They've documented, and it's public, that people are starving to death because of this thing.
Yeah.
Not here, fortunately, but around the world,
it's crazy.
It has affected food supply chains, and when you're shutting things down and nobody can move around, and you're getting like reprimanded and putting confinement. Really, that's what they're doing to you if they're locking you in your house anyway.
Yeah,
but if you
right.
come out, then they really get at you.
Yeah.
So like that has been a documented thing.
Yeah,
already.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So we might not even be at the end. Like we think we're coming out of this thing. This thing may be all 2021 might be a dumpster fire.
It might.
And we may have to be the middle of 22 before we see any kind of like return to.
It's going to be interesting. Like we're in a very unknown situation right now in the political climate. Like we just need to get to the point where we know what's going to go on and who's going to be the leader and giving us advice. Like I'm just ready for that day.
We're not getting good information.
We're not.
And we haven't got good information for probably the last 20 years. And it's just come to a head over this the pandemic cycle, the election cycle. People figured out that we're not getting the information that we need to get. We're getting information that's polarized, or it's going through a filter of ideology on either side.
I agree.
And so we're not getting the information. That's why you see half the people wear masks and half the people don't.
Yeah.
It's because we didn't get good information to start with.
Right. There's too many. There's too many people retracting on the advice that they were initially given, and then them setting the rules and not following.
That's right.
That's the problem for me.
That's a problem. And then over sensationalizing it on TV and through the media outlets, through television, news, and social media. People, they're just like, we're done. We're not listening.
Yeah.
And I think you're starting to see NBC with mass layoffs. ESPN with mass layoffs, and
Disney. The park is like decimated.
The park is decimated. So I think at the end of the day, what's happened with one of the things that's gone wrong with the news, especially network news, is over the years we have had more things come along to capture our attention. Social media, other cable channels. You can just go back and there's a list of things that have taken us away from watching nightly news on networks.
Yeah.
Because it used to be over the air. You got 4 channels. You watched the nightly news.
Right.
Journalism was different then.
Yeah.
Where they reported on what was going on without a slant. But then all of a sudden we start getting all these other avenues of entertainment, and we have access to all this information ourselves. Well, they saw the writing on the wall, and as it started to decline, because they're only doing one thing, like they're selling time between ad space, right? They're trying to sell ad space. It's a business.
Yep.
So in order to keep the ad space valuable, they have to keep eyes on it. So in order to keep eyes on it, like they had to sensationalize it, and as they started to see a decline in viewership, they had to get a little crazier and a little crazier and a little crazier.
It wasn't important to be true. It was only important to be first.
To be first.
That's it.
And that's it. And because they had to sell ad space, because that's what they make money doing.
Yeah.
And so it's just got to the point now where it's crazy and nobody believes anything.
Yeah.
Like one side believes this, one side believes that. And we just don't have good factual information. If we had good factual information,
and somebody we trusted giving it to
us, yeah. And I think that we would have behaved as a group differently than we behave now.
Yeah.
Because, people only understand what they see and what they experience on a personal level. Like I've got to see it and experience it personally for it to affect me. Yeah. And so when you're seeing on TV stuff happen, but then you're walking down the street and you're seeing something totally different happen, like you're like, I don't know if I really believe what's going on there. And that's what's got us in such a weird position now.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll ever recover.
It'll be very interesting to see. This is just a wild time to be alive.
It is wild.
I mean,
I've never been through anything like this.
We are actually in the roaring 20s.
It's crazy.
History repeating itself, and it's just going to be interesting to see how we move forward as a people, and like where we are after this. I mean, we're so divided right now. It's almost to the point where how can it heal? Like I want it to heal so bad, but it's like people are disagreeing. I think I seen a news article that a high school football game was played in Florida, state championship, and the kids on the field were fighting over their political ideology.
Yeah.
Their political beliefs. One team knelt for the national anthem, and one team had a Blue Lives Matter flag, and they were actually after each other on the field, not playing football, but they were fighting on the field because of their ideology. Their disagreements.
That's insanity.
Yeah,
that's how crazy. What's crazy is every great empire in the history of the world has fallen.
Yeah,
every one. And so,
we've had a longer than any other reign.
Yes.
So it's almost like maybe that time's up.
Maybe it's up, and I don't know. I feel like that we've always been blessed as a people and as a country more so than anybody else in the world, at least for the last 200 years.
So can we just stand by and be like, we had our time, and that's nice, and let's just let somebody else come and have their time. Like, is that
we don't want to do that because
right?
It'll be China.
Yeah.
And that's not going to be fun for us.
No doubt.
So the good thing about us is we're people. Don't ever underestimate people because they're very resilient, and majority of people are inherently good.
Yeah.
And when you break things down into a neighbor to neighbor conversation, It's a much different narrative than it is on TV. Like if you and I disagree, if you're my neighbor and we're talking at the fence in the backyard and you and I disagree, then we just, it is what it is. We're still neighbors, right? We're still talking at the fence. And the majority of people are like that. All this other stuff that's drummed up is just manufactured for some gain, either power or money.
Yeah.
And I think they're experimenting with people in a way that the most powerful people are experimenting with the masses in a way that I think is bad. The good thing about us is we're a hard group to, like, we're very independent. We're a very independent group of people as Americans.
Yeah.
It's very hard to try to do that. And because just a small thing, for instance, during the pandemic in China, like they welded your door shut in your house. Like they put your family in and they welded your door shut.
Wow.
The government did.
Wow.
Now, how many times will that happen in the United States? It ain't gonna happen.
No.
So we're just a different people, and you can't underestimate us, and you can't underestimate the good in us, because we can just, like,
I believe that
we can almost.
There's a lot of evil, but there's more good.
There's more good.
Yeah.
And don't underestimate that. And don't underestimate people and their resolve and their ability to solve problems. And, we're like whatever cure we come out of this with is going to be from our people, more than likely.
Yeah.
Our resources and our people.
Yeah.
And so don't get lost on that when you're don't get lost on that fact when you're bickering whether or not we should have a firearm in a town office. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah.
I'm optimistic about it, because if I wasn't, like, I couldn't get out of bed. Like, I got a lot of I would make a lot of money. Like, they got to get going.
Yeah, no doubt.
So we got to get this thing going. And if I didn't think that it would happen, what would be the point of me getting up every morning and putting my pants on and going to work?
Sure.
So
you got to have hope. I mean, we got to continue to be optimistic, and we got to know that at the end of the day, we win. We're going to win this thing. And
I think the people,
the
regular people, I think we've been, especially us, middle class people, I think we're becoming, like, we're almost being pushed into extinction in a way.
Yeah.
Working class people now is what you can't even call it middle class. You call it working class.
Yeah.
And I think working class people, the backbone of any nation, but especially this nation, I think we're a hard we're going to come. That's what's going to get us through it is goodness and people, because I've always thought that, evil can only last so long, and it fizzles out and it dies out some way. Live by the gun, die by the gun, right?
Yeah.
Like you've seen Scarface. Like, it's good for a while and then it's over.
Yeah.
Right. So it only lasts, if you're doing the wrong thing, it only lasts so long.
Right. People are going to rise up against it. Yeah.
And I think, who that is, who does that. I think it's as a whole, the people, and not one particular candidate of a political party, because their intentions aren't genuine either.
Yeah.
So we'll see where it goes. What that got to do with real estate in Blacksburg, I
hey,
don't know.
we touched on a lot of things. That wasn't really a part of the plan, but we got 45 minutes of a great conversation there, I think. So I mean, that's exactly what I want this show to be. I want to bring in a guy like you and have a real conversation about what's going on in the world, talk about the things that we're concerned about, and really kind of have that genuine, organic moment that we just created. Instead of me like, oh, tell us about your rise on social media and YouTube. I mean, that's interesting too.
Yeah.
Like, I do want to talk about that, but we can do that with anybody.
Anytime.
Yeah, in it. I mean, so like, that's just not as genuine of content, in my opinion. Like,
there's a time and place for it.
Yeah.
I think
I mean, it's interesting to let other people know how you did it.
Yeah.
And that type thing.
Yeah. In fact, the week before last, your podcast was about the park.
Yeah.
And you had the big discussion about the park in Christiansburg, which was a great discussion.
Yeah.
Then last week, I think, was the gentleman that you had that had that real estate firm and wrote the book. And
Yeah.
like he's a pretty sharp guy.
Yeah. I mean, he's got 50,000 people on YouTube.
Yeah.
That seems to be. That's a hard. I mean, I've got like 150.
Yeah.
I mean, you got 5,000 or
Yeah.
so. Like to achieve that is pretty amazing.
Right.
So.
Well, here's the thing. Now really want to get into the weeds, like how YouTube and Google decide to
Who the
deliver
winners
you
are.
who
Yeah.
the winners are,
Yeah.
and how much control they have over small businesses, and like they're deciding the fate of many small businesses, and they're deciding the fate of many YouTube channels.
Yeah.
And you have to dance in this logarithm to get it to work. And if you don't dance, you don't win.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit unfair, and it's kind of a monopoly.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I clicked through and got some people to watch. So, where it goes from there, I don't know.
Let's just get into it. I mean, I was watching your videos, just prepping for, getting to know you and having some things to talk about. And, your videos get a lot of engagement. You seem to have some consistency. I think the last 30 days, you uploaded like 5 videos in one day, and then you had a couple along the way or something like that. So tell me about, like, do you have people helping you with strategies and stuff like that?
Yeah, I have just one guy. His name is Barry. I think you knew Matt Weinberger.
I did.
Too.
He actually worked for me.
So he did a few things for you. So that's where I started with him. So those early videos are him.
Yeah.
And then he moved.
Shout out to Matt.
And shout out to Matt. And then Barry came in, and just me and him, and we just talk about it and try to figure it out. And so what we're trying to do now is to get to a weekly schedule.
Yeah.
And we want to go from a weekly schedule to a daily schedule.
Yeah.
And because we can see where you get rewarded for doing that.
Yeah.
And so the plan is now to do it weekly and then move to, and I think that's the strategy for us. Now, the strategy as far as content is I'll just go through the comments, and they say they want to see a particular tire.
Man, that's awesome. You've gotten to enough engagement that they want your opinion versus another tire.
Like, I have people contact me from New Zealand. I had a guy call me yesterday from South Alabama to ask me a question about a tire. Now, of all the people on Google and on the internet to ask about a tire, like the guy from Alabama calls me about a tire. And I had guys from Spain, got guys in the UK, that comment and follow all over the world. I'm like, this is crazy. Like,
so when you put your link on YouTube to like your tire supplier, do you get commission off sales?
Now it works weird because the American Tire distributors, if you got on and clicked that link and then you got a set delivered to my store, I got 2%, but they cut that out, so I don't get anything for anything now. So the only money that I get from YouTube is just the money from the clicks and the ads and the views.
Could you partner with some other supplier that would let you earn?
Yeah, well, I think that's the goal. What I'd really like to do is have my own e-commerce site and deliver, because people are like, send me some tires. I'm like, dude, I can't send you any tires. So I've been at
that might be that extra scale.
It might be the scale.
Yeah,
I think that because there's definitely, in this particular, if you notice, I talk a lot about light truck tires, like all-terrain tires, mud tires, and stuff like that. That's where I get the most engagement, and that's what people are like. I want the guy from Alabama. He's like, I want to order some tires from you, and I was like, I can't send them to you. I don't know.
Man, that is the worst thing to hear.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to purchase something from you.
Yeah.
Sorry, buddy, you got to go over here to do that now.
Right. My thought
was, that's a devastating thing that you have somebody lining up for a product that you can't sell.
Right. I have seen a little bit, like I said, in a pandemic year where my sales are off. If in my garage, my sales are off over 30%, year over year.
Yeah.
But my tire sales are up year over year.
That's weird.
And it's got to all be coming from the stuff that I'm putting out.
Yeah.
That's the only way. There's no other way that people would decide to buy tires from me other than the marketing.
Sure.
And so I've seen it come back a little bit on that. You don't make a lot on tires. It's it's a commodity product. It's not a high margin product.
Sure.
But
so that's what you think is going to bring them in, and you'll be able to give them more service because you sold them a good set of tires, and you're developing a relationship.
Okay.
And
cars, we need car count. Like, we need cars to to fill the system.
Yeah.
And so in order to create car count, you can do a few things. You can send out direct mail. You can do cheap oil changes, state inspections, drive car count, and then tires, because eventually everybody's going to need a set of tires in their life cycle. So
this is a branding play more than a putting in.
It was to begin with. It was a branding play. I'm on 2 programs through American Tire Distributors that give me a little bit of back end money for selling units.
Yeah.
It's not much, but it's a little bit, and everything helps.
Sure.
And so I was trying to do it a local to drive more tire sales into the store and try to transition myself from being, 100% repair into kind of like a tire store where I could, as cars get more reliable and electric cars come in the future, I can sort of pivot a little bit on what I do. And so, it turned out to be like people from all over the world are asking me questions and interested in.
Man, that's awesome.
Peru. I had a guy comment from Peru. I got people that call me all the time from Texas.
You definitely need to get with somebody that would appreciate the things that you're putting out and actually help them grow their sales, because what you're actually doing is a sales job. You're out there actually pitching their product,
right?
Saying and you giving your opinion on things, saying that, well, this particular thing, I like this one,
without being paid.
Yeah.
So I buy the tire and do it.
So, what others? I mean, are you trying to use social media on like Instagram and TikTok and all these other things? Are you doing anything like that, or are you just doing YouTube?
I do some Instagram. So I got to get my strategy right on my Instagram. And what I want to do with Instagram and YouTube is do the tires.
Yeah.
So I want that to be my tire channel. Facebook needs to be the information channel where people can scroll through and get the information that they need and see current events about what's happening with us.
Sure.
And
that's more of a local strategy.
Kind of like, hey, I'm here if you need anything kind of strategy. But the tire thing, which is a more broad scale, I'm trying to do it with Instagram and I just haven't it's just burying me. And like, he just shoots the videos on Saturdays.
Yeah.
I did get a teleprompter that we can shine the camera through, so now I can read so I don't sound so I think once I polish it up, because I get a little bit better every time.
Yeah.
And when I polish it up, like, people tend to engage more with it.
Gotcha.
But the weird thing about me is I never watch the videos.
Yeah,
because I don't like to listen to them.
Well,
self-talk.
For me, I'm just doing. We're so busy. We're just trusting that our production teams are going to put us in our best light.
Yeah.
So like, I've had trouble because I want to I don't mind myself. I don't mind seeing myself. I don't mind hearing myself. I don't mind any of that. It's just like having the time to dedicate. Like, this is going to be probably over an hour show.
Yeah.
Do I have an extra hour to go back and review this?
Right.
No, that's really why I hire these guys.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm just trusting that they're putting out the content that's going to get the attention that we need.
Yeah.
And the strategy that we've implemented, and man, I hope you'll use this as a resource, because we're over here. These guys are spending 8 hours a day trying to figure this out.
Right.
So use us as a, hey, what do you think about this? Dude, I'm willing to give you all the information that we're discovering.
Yeah.
So just use us as a resource, because we would love to influence and help somebody try to achieve this mountain of social media that we're trying to achieve and go along with you.
Yeah.
So what we've discovered is that YouTube algorithms and Instagram algorithms are too hard to get any really organic reach. If you're not paying to play on these platforms,
that's right.
It's hard. So what you got to do is go where the attention is, that's giving you long reach with organic opportunity.
Yeah, because that's a good point, because I find myself watching your videos on LinkedIn.
Oh, really?
And the reason I do that is
that's hilarious.
It's Facebook gets crazy, right? Yeah. Facebook gets crazy, and you get like you get upset. There's some of the craziest stuff on Facebook.
Man, that's
but so I started flipping over, because on the app, on your phone app now, LinkedIn, you scroll through it just like Facebook, and I'm really interested in business things and car dealerships and
man, that's interesting. That's great feedback. I'm glad you said that.
And so I'm like, oh, there's Scott, and I hit it, and I watch it off that platform.
Nice.
Because I might not see you on Facebook because of all the other crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And I might not see you. I didn't see you on YouTube because I wasn't subscribed.
Yeah.
And so, and on YouTube, I'm watching all car videos, so it's not going to deliver you to me.
Sure.
So I hit it on LinkedIn, and I was like, I need to go to the channel and subscribe because I need to give him that little,
that little boost. I
that
appreciate
little boost.
Yeah.
But LinkedIn, I'm finding myself spending more time on LinkedIn.
That's
scrolling.
interesting.
I watch a lot of Gary Vee. I know you do.
Yeah.
Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
I know you like him too.
Yeah.
I watch your videos and read about franchising and business, and there's very little political stuff on LinkedIn if you've ever noticed. And I'm like, I like this.
Yeah.
Now I like this. And that's how I started as a pattern every week, getting on yours and watching yours. And I can't digest it all at one time, but I take a piece here and a piece here.
And we're trying to roll off like little segment clips. Like, so we don't think we're going to have many people early watching, all of the content that we're putting out.
Yeah.
But we've got great moments within the hour or how whatever long we're in here. We're going to have 10 good moments here that we're going to clip off and do that.
And if you've ever watched, there's two people that do that and do it very well. Dale Earnhardt Jr., he has a podcast called Dirty Mo Media. I watch that all the time.
Yeah.
And he takes his whole podcast and videos it just like you do, but then he takes the segments and makes YouTube videos out of the segments.
Yeah.
Maybe 8 or 9 minutes long. Vlad TV does that too.
Yeah, this is all the Gary Vee strategy.
And so
everybody's ripped Gary off on that's exactly what he's told us all to do.
So in order to watch the whole podcast, like if I'm watching Dale Earnhardt Jr. and he's got, I don't know, Stone Cold Steve Austin on, and I'm like, man, I'm digging this. Like I'm feeling this.
Yeah.
Well, I've got to watch 5 videos to get the podcast.
Yeah.
And our attention span is short. So the way we consume stuff is like I'll sit down, I pack my lunch, so I eat my lunch, and I'm going to consume a little bit, maybe 10 minutes here, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes here. But if you see like hour and 25 minutes, you're like, I can't watch all that.
Yeah.
And so that's the key. I think the key to doing long-form podcasts is breaking it up. But you have to have the viewership to get to do it. But I don't know. Gary Vee does that really good. I saw him, and one of the best ones I saw, he's talking to Matthew McConaughey, and McConaughey was pitching his book, and he just got an interesting perspective on the world. He's a cool dude. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
But they were going back and forth on different things about, people and life and stuff, and it was broke up into segments, and I sat and watched it all, but that video was on LinkedIn.
Right.
So what I'm doing is I'm looking for different information.
That's awesome.
On different platforms.
Yeah. I think
no TikTok yet. I haven't figured that out.
Hey,
yet.
look, that's where I was going with that is I'm trying to get past the anxiety and the debate about and really just learn how to do TikToks.
Yeah.
Like I want my content to be good, and I don't have the confidence in myself to put out very good produced things. I'm just putting out not so great but entertaining to me type content. If you had somebody that understood that would take your videos that you've already done and format that to TikTok, I think you could, in your niche, you could blow up TikTok. You could be the TikTok tire guy.
Yeah.
I mean,
because nobody's really doing it.
And it's giving you so much organic reach opportunity that if you did the strategy right, you would roll them to YouTube where you're really wanting to monetize.
Right.
Where you really want a source of income.
Yeah.
But TikTok itself is a monetizing type channel.
Yeah.
Like you can be a part of the creator fund, and if you get views and watch time, they'll pay you. So like TikTok is now like 2008 Facebook. Like it gets you out to the world.
Right.
And I mean, so if you don't know any history of TikTok, there was this guy that just rolled down on a skateboard drinking cranberry juice that completely changed his life.
Oh yeah, Dogface.
Yeah, exactly.
He got a house and everything.
Truck, lifetime supply of ocean spray.
Everybody's copying
crazy.
him.
Just
one
copying.
video.
He's
kind of like Justin Bieber on
He's
YouTube.
hanging out with Wiz Khalifa.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
smoking, and like doing crazy stuff.
That's incredible.
So, yeah.
Like just one.
Bought like a $300,000 house cash.
That's just one thing. This one video.
Yeah.
I think.
Getting brand deals, getting to walk into restaurants, and then paying him fees for advertising and stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I need to study on TikTok. I've always been afraid of TikTok a little bit because I didn't understand the platform.
Yeah.
And
And that's the thing.
fault.
It's
'Cause
like
how many platforms can you understand? Like
exactly.
I missed the whole Snapchat. Like
Right.
I missed Snapchat.
Yeah.
Like it went by me.
Me too.
Like an airplane.
Yeah, me too.
And
I never bought in. Like as soon as Instagram rolled out stories, I was pretty much done with Snapchat. Snapchat was irrelevant as far as like you can never. It just seemed hard to get reach. It always seemed hard to like get organic, like new people watching you. Now, if you knew a lot of people, it was great. But I never understood like the discovery of new people, the people that you don't know, and how would you advertise around them? I never really understood that. So as soon as Instagram came out with stories, I felt like everybody was just like Instagram was just going to choke out Snapchat,
Right.
which is kind of what happened.
that's kind of what happened.
Yeah.
And then I'm seeing TikTok videos on Instagram now in their is it in their
Oh,
stories
you got
or
real.
the-
You
oh, the
talking about reels?
Yeah, reels.
Yeah, yeah. So when the China thing shook up, where they were going to ban TikTok,
Yeah.
everybody scrambled to try to be the next TikTok because they knew that it was a viable solution.
Right.
But I think they've got it all worked out, and I don't think reels is that. I mean, people have gone to reels, and it's been okay, but it's still not TikTok levels.
Not like TikTok. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's something I gotta get on
I
board
think
with that.
I think here's the thing is I think if you did something like that and you use TikTok because you can link your YouTube channel within your TikTok profile.
Right.
So if you at the end of your video say, hey, click the link to my YouTube channel, there's more content here, you can get that big organic reach that you're not paying anything for,
Right.
driving them to the YouTube where you're trying to monetize.
Right.
So that's the game, is going where the organic reach, like LinkedIn. LinkedIn, obviously, I'm so glad that you told us that. It's going to make these guys happy that they've incorporated that into the strategy. It's just further validation, pretty much. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But going to these places that are going to push your content for nothing, because they want the attention,
Right.
and they want to get good stuff out there for free. Like eventually, those dials are going to be dialed in, and we're going to have to pay more to play.
Right.
So, but right now though, it's all free.
Yeah.
They're giving us a big reach, and then we can drive them to the platforms we want to.
Right.
So that's a strategy you should think
get
about.
on that. Like it's so hard to do.
Yeah.
And run a business.
Yeah.
At the same
It
time.
is.
Like,
Oh,
I'm
no
like,
doubt about it,
I gotta
man.
like.
I mean, look at what I've tried to put together here. I mean, we're tons of labor hours in, and probably over 4 years, probably 50 or 60,000 in equipment.
Yeah.
Just buying equipment, not liking the equipment, getting rid of the equipment, changing the equipment. Actually, we've never gotten rid of anything.
Right.
So we got stockpiles of equipment.
You need to
we
rent
don't even.
this. You need to rent this.
Yeah. So
I need to be like
eventually,
Scott. I need to
eventually,
for an hour.
yeah.
Can you rent this to me?
Eventually, that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
We know that there's other podcasters out there or other people that have things that they want
Something
to
to say.
That
I think one of
we
the
step
things
out of it.
that Paul and I talked about at the radio station was doing a podcast.
Yeah.
And I was like, let me bring, there are a couple famous people that are race car drivers from our area.
Yeah.
That one of them raced in NASCAR in the 70s and 80s, and one of them is a famous drag racer now. I was like, we need to ask these guys if they'll come up and talk to us.
Yeah.
And I have a unique kind of experience with racing because my dad, he built the racetrack that's up there in Dublin. He built that and opened it in 1988.
Wow.
It'd been a dirt track before.
Yeah.
So I have this kind of unique experience with racing, and I can ask the right questions and talk about the right things.
Yeah. So that would be cool, and that's a further scale of your brand being in the car business.
Yeah.
So you bringing in attention, and then having branding things going on with Campus Automotive would be a great thing.
And because the thing about me, most shops, if you've ever been to any auto repair shop or body shop, is the owners usually work the counter.
Yeah.
Either they work the counter on the front, or they're right there in the office all the time.
Right.
Well, I'm not. I got a lot of stuff, like I'm always in the back somewhere, or I'm running back and forth or doing all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I have to be visible. People have to put a face with a business. Sure. And it has to be relatable and genuine in some way, and people appreciate it, and they'll buy from you. Yeah. And so that's kind of been my approach. So adding that piece in and having a little podcast to me would just like add credibility to who I am as a person. And if you like me as a person, you might buy a set of tires from me. Yeah. That kind of thing. I don't know. We'll see. But I wish I had somebody that could help me, that would work for me that could help me like all day long put these things together on these platforms and do it. There was a guy I know. I don't know if you've ever met Gary Duncan. He owns Duncan Honda and Hyundai and BMW and Acura, Audi, and he's got a big classic car warehouse in Christiansburg. Huge, massive place.
Yeah.
He had a guy offer to do PR and basically do the same thing for him.
Yeah.
But it was like $6,000 a month retainer, but he would set up everything. So Gary was like, man, I really don't want to spend that much money. But what the guy did was he got Gary in German magazines, Japanese magazines, got him in Car and Driver, got him in Motor Trend, got him in some serious
that is amazing.
Publications.
That's amazing.
Jalopnik, I don't know if you've ever seen Jalopnik. They're a car blog. Got him in. His specialty was these Japanese cars that he's importing from Japan and selling them here, and basically it's got him world famous to the point that a Saudi prince invited him to come over there for an auction, celebrity auction, like Richard Rawlings and Chip Foose and all these famous guys were over there, and Gary was over there, and they brought some of Gary's cars over there to go through the auction, and so this guy put a lot of plays together for Gary.
Wow.
But he didn't want to continue the process, and he's a little bit shy, and he's older, so he's not like his energy. He's done this all his life,
sure.
So his energy for that kind of stuff is
his foot's off the gas on that stuff.
On that kind of stuff,
yeah.
And he just don't have enough energy to run all those dealerships and do that.
Sure.
So he said, well, I'll probably scale back on that. But man, he got him. Dude, Bill Gates and Warren Buffett drove one of his cars. They paid him to ship a car to Omaha.
Wow.
Have the car in Omaha, drive it around, do a photo op, eat some jelly beans, paid to have his personal mechanic, go out there with him. And it was so many days, paid for room and board, and then paid to ship him and everything back.
Wow.
And just to do the photo op.
That's crazy.
And it was a Nissan Figaro, which is a little crappy car, but believe it or not, in Christiansburg, there's the largest collection of Nissan Figaros probably in the world, right here in Christiansburg, Virginia.
Wow.
So, it's just stuff like that. Like the right people can help you springboard, and
you have to get attention on this thing.
I have to get attention.
Attention is the key to everything.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
So hopefully, this has shed some light for me. I hope we can continue, maybe bring you in maybe once every couple months, just chop it up like this.
Yeah.
I'd love for you to come back and be a part of this. And
you
got
to check that. You got to tell me about the, your platform that you want to do with the real estate agents and get the guys on board and going like you were talking about last week, and how the commission structure works and how you're going to get these guys working for you and all that stuff. Like, I'm really interested in that model and how that works. And
it's been tough, man. We have a certain model that isn't industry standard anymore, and what we're trying to supply here is security and you can come in here and eat day one. So we got to really be valuable. We really got to make sure that we're feeding these people the way that we say that we can. And I believe we can pull it off. This is not a brand new thing I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
This commission split that we're offering is really an industry standard probably 15 years ago, but still it's going to equal that you eat day one.
Day one.
So
because if you get in this business and you don't do it right, you'll die.
You will.
And you'll spend money and you'll be miserable.
So I need people that want to come in, that think that they love people and they want to serve people, but they don't want to take on the risk that I've taken on. They want to be in this business, but they don't. $200,000 of payroll this year, everything that we've done here, I don't shy away from risk. A lot of people want to get into this business and then mitigate risk. It's not really possible to do anything special when you're doing that.
Yeah.
Unless you're already a part of a team that's taking on that risk. I can provide a 6-figure income from somebody quicker than they can get it themselves. I truly believe that. And I appreciate you saying that, because I think, trying to show people how we're going to do that, like through this, and just watching our revenue grow and bringing on people, I think it's going to be an interesting, fun ride.
Yeah, because that puts you in a different stratosphere than some of the rest of the guys. Because some of the guys just do this part time, and you can't really do this part time.
Yeah.
Like, you got to work.
Exactly. I said it yesterday that you can't do anything in life part time and expect a full time wage.
Yeah, that's not.
You can't do it.
That's right.
And this, you cannot work on weekends in the real estate business and think that you're going to make any kind of impact on your life financially.
Yeah.
You're gonna break even typically. You're gonna do 4 or 5 deals, and at the end of the year, the hassle and the stress and the emotion of it all is not going to be worth your free time.
Right.
So, that is the encouraging word of the day on the real estate side.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's encouraging or discouraging, but
there might be people that are looking to do something, looking to get into the business and don't know how, or are afraid to because they know they're going to lose all their income.
Yeah.
They because it's a big leap to be working in a job with some security and maybe some insurance and say, okay, now I'm not going to make anything. Right. Same thing happens when people go into car sales. It's a big leap because you're like, I don't know if I can survive, on this first draw, and I don't know if I can do it, but the potential is there to get to that 6 figures, and just like what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's a cool. That's one thing I wanted to, you to explain to me maybe on a later deal and set it up, because people knew that was possible.
Yeah.
It could be a springboard for some people.
Yeah.
It could be the beginning of a partnership that would blow this thing up. You never know.
Honestly, I want to step out of the sales. There's going to be my people. Sorry about that. I've been buzzing all show here. There's going to be a time where I want to work with the people I want to work with. Yeah. And I want to go do other things.
Put deals together.
I want to be on a Shark Tank level. I want to be making investments in the community. You come to me with an idea, you need an investment, you want me to be involved on your board, or you want my intellect or my perspective on ideas that you have. I want to be involved with people and try to uncover this. I've said this on past podcasts. I feel like we've got a little black hole over us here in the national discussion, that we have a lot of talented people here. We have a lot of talent in this area. And if we could help discover talent and push them to the national stage, I would love to be a part of that.
Or at least keep them from moving out.
Exactly.
Well, you can go the avenue of I always look at Jeannie Stosser. I mean, she was a real estate agent, then a broker, then boom, huge projects.
Yeah.
And it took a long time. It took 40 years to do that. But man,
I would probably
get it done.
I bet she's
look right behind you.
Yeah. I mean, I say she's probably top 10 net worth in the community.
Probably in the community.
Yeah.
I would say now.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And how she put deals together, partnered with people, partnered the right people with the right people to get deals done.
That's how you transcend the real estate sales game is you lay the foundation, and then you move beyond, and you help you give a hand up to the next go round.
You talked about Amy Hudson a little bit. I think she does that a little bit more so than some of the rest of the people.
I mean, Amy was my savior. She's going to be in here in a couple weeks, and we're going to be talking about recruiting and the struggles of what we go through, and so pay attention, tune in for that one. But it is a struggle. I've had I guess now 3 attempts at a buyer's agent, and it I just don't keep them for very long.
Right.
And there's something to that. It's all my fault. It's never anybody's fault but the CEO's. There's something that needed to happen to retain these people. Right. And that didn't happen. Right. So we're trying to figure that out. And she's been able to figure that out. She's had her team set up in the same structure that I want for years. She's been able to do that for years and recruit other agents underneath the brokerage. So she's got her little team and her couple buyers agents at the same model I'm trying to attempt to do. She's done it.
Right.
So I know it's possible. I know it can be done here because it's being executed.
Right.
So yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, there's a guy up there that's got a really nice Alfa Romeo that we work on, the white one.
Right.
And
that's her husband.
I love that car.
Yeah.
Man. That's an awesome car.
Yeah.
Man, that's a great car. I don't know how reliable it's going to be, but
right.
I love the way that looks and everything.
Yeah,
so
it's sharp for sure.
Beautiful office up there and everything too. So,
yeah.
You know,
like I said, she was my savior. I got pushed out over at Long and Foster, 8 years ago.
Where was that? Which office was that?
The Blacksburg office.
The Blacksburg office.
Yeah.
Which was out here by
the
hospital.
Just the hospital. Yeah.
That's where my dad was at before he got sick.
Right.
He was at my dad and my brother were out there.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Right. So when I was told to find a different brokerage, I had only done maybe 5 deals that year. I wasn't a part of the culture. I wasn't doing much, but I was on I was about to turn the bend because I had gotten fed up with not doing much in the real estate business. So what happened was I was turning the corner of starting to be who I am today, and then they kind of pushed me out the door, so it kind of sped things up. And Amy was the only one that answered.
What year was that?
That was in 2012? 2011, 2012. Right at the end of 2011, going into 2012, I think. I've been at RE/MAX going to be 8 years.
8 years.
So
how old were you at that point?
I was 32 years old.
So you were born in 1980?
83.
83.
Yeah.
All right. I was born in
37.
1980. So look what kind of favor they did you.
Oh, yeah.
By sending you out the door.
Yeah.
So now you have some freedom.
Look, Amy has let me do and supported almost anything that I've done, even if she didn't agree with it. She has been, and this is why I'm loyal to her. This is why if she's still the operator of her business and she's still driving the boat, so to speak, there's no way I'm going to leave this company.
So what do you do that's so controversial that makes all these people mad?
All right. So there was a time where I posted a video talking about a client of mine that didn't get treated right. He was a black guy, and he felt like he was discriminated against, and so that video didn't go over well. I was actually a sitting board member. I'm still a sitting board member. I'm kind of on my way out of the board. I didn't get reelected to the board, so they asked me to resign over that particular video.
Even though it was the right thing.
It was the right thing, yeah. So 2-minute video of the beginning of a story. I just started the story. It was a 2-minute clip. But they had asked me to resign mainly because of maybe some past situations. I mean, when you're on the ascent like I am, and it's clear that I'm looking to punch everybody in the face. I'm looking to be the best. I'm not shy about it. I go after everything I can go after.
Right.
And people are threatened by that. I'm not shy when I say I want to take over the world in my regard.
So were you still in there?
No,
still in their deals?
No, I was above board on everything.
So you're above board on everything. You weren't underhand them, stealing them, saying I'm gonna do it for 1%.
No, I never even
guarantee.
I don't even discount my fees.
Like the Gautier guy that says if you don't, we're gonna buy it. Like if I can't sell it in so many days,
right.
I'll buy it from you.
No gimmicks
or wholesaling.
There's no gimmicks over here. There's no. So
promises. You're just aggressive and they didn't like it.
Yeah.
Well, they can't. People do the same thing.
So here's the thing is I made a decision, when I came to RE/MAX, that no matter who you were, if you had a listing that expired, I think I even called you guys. I think I called you guys on something that y'all owned that had expired or something like that. So if you had an expired listing that came off the market, you heard from Scott Bunn in some fashion. You got a piece of mail, you got a phone call, you got something from us. If you were unsuccessful selling your property, then you heard from my team in some fashion.
Yeah.
So that right there.
Yeah, we did. I sold my own house on Zillow, and then you hit me up on that Zillow.
Yeah,
on the Zillow.
So I made a conscious effort to to be a delight to the customer with no regard for the colleagues that I share this area with. And some of them are threatened by that because they feel like I'm taking from them. But if I'm playing by the rules, then
there's not an equal effort across the board either. So different agents give different amounts of effort for different listings.
Yeah, we're definitely not built the same.
And I think that even my mom and dad had a house on Mount Tabor that I felt like was extremely undervalued, and they still struggled to sell it, and I think it just didn't get in the right place at the right time in the right hands.
So the marketing wasn't to the right pond of buyers that were going to be interested in the property.
Right.
So that the marketing solutions are the reason why you hire somebody.
Right.
Like that should be the reasons you hire somebody. It is their strategy.
Yeah.
Not friends in business, they have a hard time mixing. But if your friend does a great job, then hire them.
Right.
If there's somebody else doing a better job, then they should be considered. And even if you got a friend is like, why aren't you doing these things? Will you do these things for me? Like those are I see this guy doing X. Do you do X?
Yeah.
That should be a conversation you have.
Right. Well, one of the things that they didn't do on Mom and Dad's house is the photos weren't that great. And I think they eventually updated them. But, man, if you don't hit the ground right off the bat with the correct photos. Yeah. So when I sold my house, I was mad. I was like, I'm not doing realtors. They make me mad. Like they're doing Mom and Dad. They're going to sell this house for cheap, and it's making me mad. It's a 5,000 square foot house on 6.5 acres, a quarter of a mile from the town limits of Blacksburg on Mount Tabor.
Yeah.
And it just didn't get done right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was mad. So I'm going to do it on Zillow. So I got one of my friends who takes professional real estate photography.
Yeah.
He took my photos. I put it on Zillow. I got 5 showings and 4 offers in 24 hours. But I lived in New River Village.
Yeah.
So it was a $240,000 house. So, gosh, y'all ought to be able to get that done real quick, right?
Yeah.
So I did it myself, got it all done. I had Tina at True North Title. She wrote my contract. She closed the deal and everything. But I was just upset about how they handled Mom and Dad's house.
So there you go. The diminishing of the brand led you to do it on your own.
On my own.
And that is a problem because even down to the pictures, like if you can't create good enough media for me, I'll just go do it myself. Well,
anybody, yeah.
So that's where we want to be ahead above everybody. Is the media that we create is almost not you can't replicate what we do unless you have the equipment we have,
right.
and we have the photo editing that we have, and we color grade and do all
Write
the things
them up
and make it
drone photo
make
if
it
you need
true. The term we like is true to life.
Yeah,
we want it to be as close to true to life as possible.
Yeah, because it needs to look like it really. Just like when I sell a car and I'm taking my photographs, like I need you, like I can't butter it up.
Yeah.
Like if it's got dents and scratches, like you need to see the dents and scratches.
Sure.
And it needs to look, when you walk up to it, it needs to look like it does.
Yeah.
In the picture.
Yeah.
And I think you can play around with the lighting and get the picture to show good, but at the end of the day, like it needs to look like what it's supposed to look like.
Right.
You can't like.
You can't
put a filter on it.
Yeah,
like these girls do. On
the main complaint I get nowadays is the photos are overhyped, and when they get into the house, they're like,
let down.
Man, they're so overhyped when they get there, and then they're let down because the photos are so good. And then you're right, the blemishes come out in real life, and they've been catfished.
That's
right.
You know? That's right.
So.
Well, I thought you need to look. Mom and Dad's house is 1776 Mount Tabor Road, big house, built in the early 2000s. So had some things that were appropriate for that time in it that people really don't like now. Some of the color choices and the knobs and the doorknobs, it's got a lot of gold and stuff in it like they used to have, and the way it's laid out. But man, I was just so disappointed. And Mom and Dad were up against the wall, and they didn't have time, and it took too long. So we had to accept an offer that was, I felt like, if you tried to build the house today and buy 6 acres it's $1 million.
Yeah.
$1 million.
Yeah. So number one, you didn't think the marketing was great. Number two, they didn't stand up for your price. They didn't negotiate fiercely.
Well, yeah, anybody can give something away.
Yeah.
Like if you keep reducing the price, like
Yeah.
Anybody can give something away, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think the people that bought it, one of them was I think if it's the same guy, was a mortgage broker at one time. So he fell into a good deal, and they'll make a ton of money on it.
Yeah.
But just unfortunately, the worst thing is my dad had a problem with his head. He had a stroke, and he can't walk or talk, and financially he had rental properties all over Radford, and you can't run it like if you're debilitated. So you just gotta pretty much give stuff away at a fire sale.
Yeah.
And that's what they've had to do. And I feel like because I'm emotionally connected to the sale of that property, it makes me feel a certain way about it. And,
Sure.
and like I'm working my butt off to help them, and I've hired you to do the same.
Yeah.
I feel like you should do the same. Now, I didn't hire them. Mom did.
I mean, you feel like you're bringing somebody in that you're supposed to trust to advocate for you.
Yeah.
And it seems like they let you down.
Yeah,
and
I think.
So and that's a feeling that they can't combat. You feel that way. They didn't do the things that they needed to do to make you feel good about it. So like that's skill versus no skill.
Well, if you come to present it to me, I'm certain that you would say, "Okay, Mr. McMurray," and obviously I didn't set this up. My mom did.
Yeah.
But you'd say, "Okay, Mr. McMurray, here's your house. Here's some comps. Here's where I think your house fits in price-wise. Here's where, here's where I think the market's going. This is what I think we should do, and we should get it priced right to start with, because if we miss this, it's going to sit.
Yeah.
And we got to get the photos right. We got to do this. Are you okay with spending some extra money on whatever you go?" And I think if you presented it, if you laid it all on the table and said, here's how we want to attack this.
Yeah.
And be like, "I'm your guy. I'm going to handle this. You got to listen to me.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm going to do. We're going to spend a little bit of extra money on this. I need you to understand it, that I need to have this drone footage, and I need to have this septic checked right now.
Yeah.
So
we're not surprised later.
So we're not surprised later.
Yeah.
And then and I just did feel like they don't all do that.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like they did that for them. And I never met with them, and I'm glad I didn't, because like I said, I'm emotionally connected to what happened to them. So I get upset about it. And there's no point in me I can't make a rational decision because I'm emotional about it.
Yeah.
I can't make a fact-based discussion because.
Well, let me offer this to you. The next time you're in a situation and you want high-level performance, give us a shot and watch. What I would say to be elite performer do for you.
Yeah.
Because this year we're going to do 85 deals. You can't do 85 deals by accident.
No, you got to work.
And we got to have processes and systems and strategies, and we got to be productive. We got to produce results.
Yep.
So 85 deals is a sign of some successful situations. Yeah.
And I think outcomes is a big selling point for an agent. Is the outcomes that you produce for people. And
now I'm not going to lie. There's some moments we've limped to closing, but it's a closing. It closes. And when you're dealing with so many humans involved in the process.
Oh, in the process.
It can get challenging and people can get emotional. But then again, where our skill comes in is managing and leveling off the emotions to keep moving forward.
Right.
So
the other thing is, I think that you can't assume that people understand how the process works.
Yeah.
Because everybody has a different level of understanding.
We've fallen into that trap before. You're supposed to, you didn't know to do that? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. So that's 13 years of experience knowing that we got to outline everything and assume that nobody knows anything.
Yeah. And because, people have different, for some people, they may only buy a house twice in their life.
Yeah.
And when they bought it 25 years ago, the process was much different.
Right.
And so, like you can't assume that people know what you're talking. I think we are guilty of that when we talk about cars. We're like, oh, you need a this, that, and the third, and we just assume that they know what we're talking about, and they just don't know.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they just don't know what I'm talking, because not everybody knows the terminology and speak the lingo and understand. And I think that having the ability to communicate that on the front end puts people at ease and builds value for you and your company when you go and you try to get these listings, because they'll be like, hey, look, Scott did this and Scott did that, and he's going to tell you the truth and going to guide you through the process. That's what he's getting paid for. He's going to lay it out for you. It's not an emotional thing. It's a house, and houses have problems, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
Don't worry about this. Be like, hey, look, we're going to have this home inspection. I'm representing you as a seller. Don't be stressed out about it. If something comes up,
there's going to be something. I tell them there's going to be things
that come up,
and we're going to deal with the things, and this thing is going to keep going forward. Don't worry about it. And anything that comes that's unreasonable, we'll tell them no. I'm not fearful to tell someone no when they've stepped outside the bounds of what they're supposed to do.
Short of the house sinking in quicksand, like there's not much that you can't fix.
Yeah. For every problem in the world, almost there's typically a solution.
Yeah. And in having those resources in house to be like, all right, I'm gonna call this dude.
Yeah.
I got a roof. I got my buddy that's gonna take care of this roof.
Yeah.
I got the HVAC. Hey, let's call this company. Let's just get it looked at real quick.
Yeah.
Let's see, and be able to get them people there quick. To, like if you got a fixture, plumbing fixture leaking water, be like, I got a dude.
Yeah.
I got a guy. Let me call him real quick.
Yeah.
And having them resources, that's building value in the agency. And then theoretically, the more value that you build, the more people will want to list with you and your people. Yeah. I think one of the other big things for me, is when I call an agency, that if I call an agency because I want you to sell my house, I want you to sell my house. And I know that's a little bit different than the model, but I'm calling you to sell the house. Yeah. Because I know you've produced extremely good outcomes. I want you, but that's just me, because I need to talk when I feel like I need to talk to the, when people come in my business and there's something serious, they want to talk to me. Yeah. They don't want, they need to talk to me. And I feel like the same way on listings. I'm I want you to list this. Yeah. And not somebody else, because I don't know what these other people are going to do. Right. Because you can't even assume that they're going to do it like what you did.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm not even sure that Amy's office didn't sell Mom and Dad's house, but it wasn't Amy. Yeah. And there's a difference. Yeah. Flat out, there's a difference, and the outcomes are different.
Yeah. See, when we get to a listing and we're putting it out there, the goal is to get the buyer that's going to be willing to pay you the most in the shortest amount of time. And we do have to leverage the 400 people that are part of the New River Valley Association to try to get you that. Yeah. They could have been working this buyer for 6 months now, right, and they have them in their pocket, and they're willing to bring them over and look at it. And all we can do is manage that agent through the process and try to handle whatever it is that they're going through with their client. Yes. So there's a separation there. Yep. So I understand, you would rather me handle you and handle the buyer and it all be one thing, but then that diminishes the time aspect of it all and also probably the value.
Right, right. And I don't know that that's necessarily handle the buyer as much as it's handle me. Yeah. And be that go-between. Yeah. Because I'm attached emotionally to my house. Yeah. So if you come in and you offer me less than what I think it's worth, I'm mad. Yeah. You got to be the buffer. Yeah. But I think about things in a different light.
That's interesting. So if I was you representing you and we had $500K on your house and someone came in at $450, you would be like, what? And get emotional. You'd get emotional over them disrespecting you.
Disrespecting me.
Okay, so that's great. That's great.
Depends on the buyer.
I actually love these moments, because what I would do is I would sit down with you and I'd say, look, don't worry about this number. This $450,000, it doesn't mean anything. Okay, this is their first shot across the net. Right. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to counter back. at full price. We'll play that game. So they want to come and disrespect you. Well, we're not moving off this number. All right. So let's just go ahead and formally mark their price out, put it back to yours, and send it back. That's our hey, we're not messing around here. This is what we think it's worth.
Right.
Then they either walk away because they weren't serious in the first place, or they come way up. Okay. So then we bat it across the net a few times.
Yeah.
And if they don't get it to the number that you think's reasonable, we keep it rolling.
Right.
You know?
And that's why it's so important for you to be the buffer. Because when I sold my house on Zillow, right, I had the 5 showings and 4 offers. A couple of them hit me low.
Yeah.
And then the one said full price. And a guy named his name was Dave Phillips. He brought these buyers in and looked at, and he's like, and they sent it to me full price.
We like Dave.
And so sent to me full price with they were going to do an inspection, but not
Info only.
Info only.
Yeah.
And so I said, cool. And so I ended up giving him 1% for bringing them.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't have to.
Yeah.
And it wasn't enough for his amount of work.
Yeah.
By the way, because he worked with these people for months.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure he probably got it on the other side.
So I gave him 1%, and they probably paid him some on the other side.
Yeah.
They should have, because he worked his butt off for them, driving them around all over the creation. But it was the right house for those people at the right time. But the other lady, Nancy Page, she's like, you should have told me that you got a full price this, and this. And then one of the ladies, she was just really upset with me. And I was like, well, like, you should have just given me what I wanted for the house. Like, I'm not a realtor. Like, this is what I wanted. Yeah. Like, I was asking $249. I felt like that was a little bit less than what we would have listed with a realtor with.
Yeah.
I didn't come up with that.
Hey, look, you obviously hit it on the button.
And I was tied to it emotionally, so I was like, nope, throw it out. The second one, nope, throw it out. And so when they hit me with the price, I was like, yes, that's what I want.
Yeah.
You guys can have the house. And I think that, going back to my original point, you have to be that buffer. And I got to feel like you're going to bat for me if you're representing me as a seller, like you're going to bat for me. Yeah. And I'm different than most buyers, because I'm thinking like I'm selling cars, right? So if you come in and offer me $4,000 for a car I'm asking $7,500. What do you think I'm going to tell you to do? Get lost, right? Get lost. Like, I might have $500, but I ain't got that much. Right. So like, I'll let the car rot into the pavement before I sell it for that. And so like, I think that I got to feel like somebody's going to bat for me.
Sure.
I got to feel like that.
Hey, look, we want to put deals together. We want to make things happen, and too many people get into the let's just play ball. Sometimes you got to stick to your guns and not play. Sometimes there's especially in a market like this, if somebody comes in on like day one and they want a $10,000 discount, that's the one to tell, I'm sorry, I can't do that. Like, you can come back and try again if you'd like.
Right.
But at this point, that's not a feasible offer for us.
Exactly right. I'm with you 100%. Yeah. So I like your approach to that. I think one last thing, on my mind that I wanted to talk about is why aren't we, as young people, business people in this community, getting together and working deals on things like they used to do in the 80s when they got real stuff built. I don't think we work together enough as groups on projects. Because right now, I'll give you a good example. Like, most of the time when Jeannie does a project, she's got partners. It's been like that since the 80s, right? And she had this group of people that were partners, and they got stuff done. But I think people in our generation, like, we're not working. We're not doing anything. Like, we're not partnering to do anything.
I think it's a cultural thing. We don't know how to share. Like, for me, I'm an only child. So like, for me, the concept of, okay, we're going to come together collectively and do things. I just wasn't brought up that way. I don't have any of that. The family has shrunk here probably in America. There's not big families anymore.
Right.
You know, there's not a collective sense of group. You know, it's become a little bit more selfish, sadly. But then again, there's not any training in the upbringing. So there's not a lot of group projects even in middle school or high school.
Right.
There's individual tasks and individual learning.
Especially now.
So colleges, you do get back into group type stuff in college. You do get educated in collectively thinking and bringing projects to the table in college. But if you're not a secondary education participant, you may have lost that.
Right.
You may not have ever gained the perception of, well, let's work together.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that's a part of like our upbringing.
You know, I think that group of people, even to this day, are leaving their legacy on this community with projects that they've built, apartment complexes, commercial projects. They've made lots of money.
Yeah.
They've done a lot of good things. And I just don't think us, our age, like even if you look at the Marketplace project right now, there's 5 or 6 partners. You know, there's a lot of silent partners in that deal.
I would love to be the like where I'm going to move to as far as like once I've like hammered this out and we have something that's like predictable and running. That's the next level for me, is bringing together financial groups of capital and like going after investment opportunities.
Yeah, because you can't go to the bank anymore.
Yeah.
I know a guy out in Heron's Landing. They were doing a row of townhouses. I think David Neal, David Lane, John Neal with I think John Neal and Bob Ackerman, which is he's a contractor. But the 4 of them put together a deal on some townhouses right there. And obviously they've had their struggles, but they put that deal together. And as they build that out, even when they go to split the profit, if there is any, like they're still going to be handsomely rewarded.
Right.
And I think that's the ticket, I think, is putting projects together.
I think projects or product.
Together.
I mean, look at the Scrub Daddy. Have you heard of the Scrub Daddy?
No.
It's a Shark Tank product that is like $1 billion product, and it's just this little sponge with the smiling face on it that cleans dishes. Like being able to bring in somebody here that has a product idea that could be launched into the world. That's where I want to be. I want to bring out products and services and ideas and projects. But mainly, I just want to transcend this into more opportunity.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that, because I think that, you know, we don't see innovation like we should.
Yeah, and the people that do innovate and have ideas here can never get them out.
Yeah,
they never execute. So I want to be a part of the execution of it all.
Right.
So
that me too, man. Because I think I got a lot of
cool
resources and stuff like that. And I'm like, I know you like Grant Cardone, but one of his big things is massive action.
Yeah.
Like in one way, shape, or form, some way, some kind of massive action going somewhere.
Yeah.
Like you might not go where you want to go.
Yeah.
But you're going somewhere.
Right. Elon, back to Elon, he said whatever your 10-year goal is, try to achieve it in 6 months. Because, I mean, you're not likely to achieve it in 6 months, but if you tried to achieve that in 6 months, you'd probably be a lot further along in 10 years than you would if you tried to achieve it in 10 years.
Yeah.
So,
that's like me when we talked about me wanting to own, my own new car dealership, which has a huge barrier of entry. Like it costs 2 commas to play.
Right.
Just to play. Don't even count real estate.
Yeah. Net worth wise?
Cash money.
Oh, wow.
So the I can't make enough money on North Main Street to ever play.
Yeah.
So I have to have other creative resources and capital partners to help me.
You need to invest in a product that will launch into the atmosphere and really return back to you.
Return? You never know. I don't know. Like who knows what the play is going to be coming out of COVID. But I know that one good thing that COVID has brought to me is like a sharpness of like mindset, of a sharpness survival mindset of looking at everything's on the table. Like if you remember this show, if you remember the movie Apollo 13, right? There's one scene in the movie where they're getting ready to die, right? And they throw everything they got on this table, and they're like, "This is what we got. How do we get this home?
Yeah.
This is what we got." And it's just like, it's a hammer and like a piece of rope and all this, and they got to get in from outer space.
Right.
And I think that like that's where I'm at mentally right now during COVID.
So you got your hard hat on.
I'm trying to.
Like
Everything's on the table. Like
Yeah.
I got a hammer and a piece of rope, and I'm trying to like MacGyver this thing through
Yeah.
this tough period.
Right.
And so, that's sharpening me up a little bit, give me a little bit of an edge. So we'll see. Time will tell
Yeah.
how that plays out.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
I am kind of emotional about rolling into 2020, just because every year in my business you have a year's worth of work, and at the end of it you go back to zero, and you have to do it all over again.
You're only as
you have
good
to do it
as
all
you-
over
yep.
again. So the level of production that we have is getting to the point that it's like, okay, we got to find out how to do it again. Like we got to figure out. I mean, we got a formula,
Yep.
but executing the formula in the same manner, sometimes there's variables, and I think we've been through one of the biggest variables that we could ever be through.
Oh yeah.
And I got people, even close people right now telling me, because of some of the opinions I've put out, that there's no way, don't blame your circumstances on anything going on politically. Blame them on your opinions. Blame them on the fact that you took a stand on something,
Right.
and now people might not use you
Yes.
to that point.
That's correct.
So now I got to go prove them wrong.
Yeah.
And that got me sharp. That person telling me that, which is one of my absolute best friends, that's got me laser focused.
Yeah. Because
So-
you got to watch what you say.
Yeah.
And I think you have to get an opportunity to meet with people face to face.
Yeah.
Because even though you don't agree, ideologically, or you might not agree.
Yeah.
You might be left or you might be right. You might not agree, but as person to person, neighbor to neighbor, like you find more common ground than anything else. So
Agreed.
you got to get that. You got to get that meeting. But I think just to wrap up, just like I said, you got to. I got to be so careful too, because I got to be so careful.
After this is all over, I will hopefully vow and just keep that all to myself in the future. I'm likely fighting a battle that does nothing for me but negative.
Yeah, because it's not all. Just because you're right doesn't mean it's the right thing.
Yeah.
Because you can be totally 100% right on something,
Yeah.
and it not be the right thing.
Right.
And that's what you have to realize. And you don't have to make everybody. You don't have to make everybody think the way that you think. You don't have to get your point across, or you don't always have to get the last word.
Yeah.
And if somebody's wrong, you don't always have to tell them they're wrong, and you don't always have to explain things to them the way you feel, and you don't always have to give them your opinion or to be the loudest person in the room. Like you don't have to.
Yeah.
Like it's just not productive at the end of the day, especially if we're trying to get business.
Yeah. And that's one of the great things and one of the worst things about the internet is that it allows you to be exposed. It allows you to get it allows you to get whatever it is you're looking for, even if you didn't know you were looking
And
for
the
it.
beautiful thing about this country is you can say whatever you want to say. Doesn't mean you know what you're talking about,
Yeah.
but you can say whatever you want to say and not get worried about punched in the mouth.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we sort of, because on the playground, you can say what you want to say, but you might get punched in the mouth.
Yeah.
But now you can say what you want to say, and you have the protection of a you're behind a computer screen or your phone.
Yeah.
And that, but still, like I said, you don't, just because you're right and 100% right on something doesn't mean it's the right thing.
Yeah.
To say or be right now.
Right.
And if people would realize that, I think we have a lot less, unrest and turmoil and stuff like that.
Well, dude, I appreciate the time.
Yeah.
This was a great episode in my opinion. I want you back at some
Yeah,
point. Let's schedule.
most definitely.
Let's schedule something on like a regular basis.
I'm a time filler.
Right on, man.
And you can't get the famous people in.
What is that? Episode 23, right? Or 24? Episode 24. So we're 14 episodes in on this thing. He's our actual first in this office. He's our first live guest, isn't he? I think you're our first live interview in this office. That's just not me and Weston. Or a virtual, like you're our first in office outside of the organization guest. So that's a milestone, and I appreciate it, man. We're gonna send you everything here that we did so you can use it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I won't ever watch it though.
Well, your video guy can chop it up however he wants and use it for YouTube or
because maybe my people would like switch over and watch yours. Get you another couple views on there too.
That's what we want.
You never know.
We're looking to hack. That's exactly what we're doing.
I think, if a lot of the way that we think about things is very similar.
Yeah.
And I think
because we're in a similar role, we're the head of a company.
Yeah. And I think we can leverage that and make I think as the two of us together, we can leverage that, and I don't know who knows. Yeah, what can happen out of that? I can help. You can help. Whatever.
No doubt. I want to plug you guys. Campus Automotive. If you're in Blacksburg, need car repair service, tires, towing service, anything. This is your guy. Campus Automotive. Matt